How you doing today, Laura?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Looks like you got a new seat.
Yeah, I'm on a different side of the room.
Oh, of the room. Okay. Just didn't. Nice. Did you move, or is there something happening today?
No, we built a new desk.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Appeal and Equalization on, what is it today? April 21st, and it is 6:32 p.m. Could I get a roll call of the members, please?
Shelley Carlson.
Here.
Laura Caroon.
Here.
Okay. Matthew Gilbertson.
Here.
Bryce Hutari.
Here.
Jessica Cassidy. Mike Gunter.
Here.
Ryan DeYoung.
Here.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to just turn it over to Mr. Ockery, who is our city assessor, to take over the remainder of the meeting. Thank you.
So we just have a few items tonight to take care of, and we can just jump into the appeals. We just have 2 written appeals to handle tonight, and then there's a few appeals that we've worked with property owners and come to an agreement on already, and they just need basically a blanket approval from the board tonight. So the first one, if you turn in your books, there's a tab about halfway through the book that kind of separates it in half. And you can go to page 1. There should be a letter from Jennifer Kiffmeyer on page 1 there of that second section. So this is a letter she submitted. She called the other day, and they had missed the deadline to submit a relative homestead application last year for the 2020 assessment for taxes payable in 2021. And so she wanted to submit this letter to the board for your consideration. And then there's a few things with this one. Technically, if you turn to page, if you turn to page 6, right at the top, the Board of Appeal and Equalization Handbook goes through some things that the local board can't do, and one of them is to go back years, assessment years, and make any changes to value or classification. So technically, the board can't grant this appeal tonight. And the other option is for a property owner to go and apply for an abatement through the Clay County Commission. But in their abatement policy, if you turn to page 8, it talks about applications for homestead and exemption, and they in their policy, they I think the wording is failure to respond with a homestead application ahead of the deadline will not qualify the property for an abatement. So I guess it's a written appeal, so I'm submitting it to the board. But technically, you can't grant the relative homestead in years prior. If it was for this year, you could, but if it was for this year, the deadline isn't for another 8 months. So the only thing we really need on this is for a motion from someone from the board to either, well, you really only have technically one option, and that's to make no change to last year's assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Ockery. Is there a motion to I'm not sure how you would want to word that, a motion to not grant the,
The relative homestead for the 2020 assessment.
do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
And is there any discussion? Okay, no questions for discussion or comment. If I could, yes, Councilmember Gilbertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So is that something they can apply then for 2021?
Yes, yep. So the relative homestead is an annual application for relatives because they're not, the relative isn't the owner, so they could be moving in and out, and there's no way to track it other than to have them apply every year. So the property owner talked to Amy earlier this week or late last week, and she sent him another new application for the 2021 assessment, which that'll be due December 15th of this year. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
And then, Mr. Ockery, I noticed in the paperwork that you sent that letters were sent in January, 2 letters were sent in January of 2020 and an additional letter in April of 20. So I would anticipate that there were probably letters sent in January of 2021 and then April of 2021.
For 2021, we wouldn't have because it would have removed the relative homestead last year, and then it's, we assume that they moved or something. But then she called this year because it showed non-homestead on her notice that she got a few weeks ago. So we'll send it out again, and then if assuming they apply this year, they'll be back on the list to send reminder applications to for following years until they don't apply again. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing and seeing none, could I get a roll call for that motion, please?
Laura Caroon,
Yes.
Matthew Gilbertson,
Aye.
Bryce Hutari,
Yes.
Jessica Cassidy, Mike
Yes.
Mike Gunter,
Yes.
Ryan DeYoung.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And Mr. Acker, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so the second one, if you turn to page 10, in that second section, there's an email for parcel number 589001150. And as I mentioned in my email this afternoon, they are filing a written appeal just to have the board make a decision to not change anything, but that reserves their place or their ability to then appeal to the county board, which is on June 15th. So on this one, we just need a motion from the board for no change. And then I will be working with them here in the next few days to start that process.
So the motion would be no change to property tax,
To value and classification for 2021.
no change to the value and classification for 2021. All right,
Yep.
Can I get a motion on that, please? Okay, Mr. Huteri, could I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. DeJong, any comments or questions? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote? And also, just so you guys know, the reason why I'm having to do a roll call vote is in the state of Minnesota, we have to do a roll call vote for everything when people are virtual. So I know that might be something that you guys are questioning, but that is why we have to do that. So could I get a roll call vote, please?
Laura Caroon,
Yes.
Matthew Gilbertson,
Aye.
Bryce Hutari, Jessica Cassidy, Mike Gunter,
Yes.
Ryan DeYoung.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, back to you, Mr. Ockery.
Yeah, the rest of it, starting on page 11, there are a handful, I think, there are 8 of them, 8 appeals where we've made an adjustment to either value or classification with the property owner over these last couple of weeks. And so this would just need a motion for approval of these changes for these 8 appeals from the board. These are all ones that have been agreed upon by our office and the property owner.
Okay, so the motion would be for approval of the changes on the listed.
Yeah, the additional appeals that have already been agreed upon.
All right, do I have a motion as stated by Mr. Ockery?
Make motion.
I'll second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments on any of them? Any discussion or comments? Hearing and seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Laura Caroon,
Yes.
Matthew Gilbertson,
Aye.
Bryce Hutari,
Yes.
Jessica Cassidy,
Yes.
Mike Gunter,
Yes.
Ryan DeYoung,
Yes.
And I'll say yes, too. I don't know if you called my name.
You
So-
don't get to vote.
I don't get to vote? Oh,
You get to break ties.
still never get to vote. All right. Okay, well, the motion has carried then. Thank you.
At this point, we don't have any additional business other than the state requires us to be here for a half an hour in case someone were to walk in late. So we can't technically adjourn the meeting until 7 o'clock.
Okay.
But I do have a form for you guys all to sign for your attendance.
Okay, well, then we can take that matter up while we are waiting until 7 PM. Thank you, Mr. Ockery.
Yep.
So Nate, did you bring a musical instrument to play? And
I couldn't fit it in my backpack, otherwise I may have.
well, if it's all right with everybody, I'm going to step off and give a 12-year-old a ride to a swimming lesson. So thank you all for your service. It's a good meeting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
City
night.
Manager Molly. Drive safe.
Bye.
A lot of things going on. First year was a little more wild than this.
Yeah, I'm sure it can be.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. Just going through some of these appeals here, there's some interesting things that have happened and COVID related.
It's been hard.
Otter had her second shot.
All right, it is 7 o'clock, so I am going to adjourn the 2021 Board and Equalization Committee meeting. Thank you, everyone.